Welcome back to the Hub, where we talk about every and anything crypto. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help reach this imperative information to everyone, because what happens tonight could shape the next phase of this entire market. Because here's the thing, if cryptocurrency gets mentioned during the State of the Union tonight, it won't just be a passing comment, it will be a signal to Wall Street, a signal to regulators, and more importantly, a signal to global markets that the United States is finally deciding how it wants to position itself in the digital asset revolution. And look, whether you hold XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or you're just watching from the sidelines, this matters a lot. So let me break down what we're watching for tonight, what could realistically be said, what probably won't be said, and why even a single sentence about digital assets could ignite the next wave of momentum. First, understand what the State of the Union actually represents. It's not just a policy recap, it's a narrative-setting event. It frames the administration's priorities heading into an election cycle, into economic shifts, into global power moves. And right now, the economic conversation is heating up. Inflation pressures, debt ceiling debates, global currency tensions, the rise of BRICS nations exploring alternatives to the dollar, the rapid expansion of central bank digital currencies around the world. Crypto sits right in the middle of all of that. Now here's the realistic expectation. Will we hear the word XRP tonight? Highly unlikely. Will we hear Bitcoin specifically? Probably not. But digital assets, financial innovation, blockchain technology, or even responsible regulation of emerging financial technologies. That is absolutely possible. And if that happens, markets will react instantly, because crypto right now is no longer a fringe topic. We've seen spot Bitcoin ETFs approved. We've seen institutional custody infrastructure mature. We've seen regulatory agencies clash publicly over jurisdiction. The debate is no longer about whether crypto exists, it's about who controls it. So what are we thinking happens tonight? Scenario 1. Crypto is framed as innovation that America must lead. This would be the bullish tone, a narrative around protecting investors while fostering technological leadership. If we hear language about ensuring the US remains competitive in blockchain innovation, that would signal a softer regulatory stance ahead. It would suggest clarity may finally be prioritized over enforcement by ambush. That would be fuel. Scenario 2. Crypto is mentioned in the context of risk and consumer protection. This would lean more cautious. Words like fraud, volatility, protecting families, guardrails. That doesn't necessarily mean bearish, but it would signal heavier regulatory involvement, more oversight, possibly stricter compliance frameworks. Markets might initially wobble, but clarity still brings long-term stability. Scenario 3. Crypto isn't mentioned at all. Now this is interesting. Silence can be just as telling. If digital assets are ignored entirely, it suggests they are not yet being positioned as a top-tier campaign or policy priority. That could mean regulatory agencies continue operating independently without clear executive guidance, which keeps uncertainty alive. And uncertainty is what markets hate most. But here's where it gets deeper. We're heading into a pivotal election year. Younger voters overwhelmingly favor crypto adoption. Small businesses increasingly use digital payments. Cross-border settlement technologies are improving at lightning speed. Even major banks are experimenting with tokenized assets. Ignoring crypto entirely could look out of touch. So even a subtle acknowledgement could be strategic. Now let's zoom out to the global chessboard. Other countries are not waiting. The European Union has already implemented MiCA, a sweeping regulatory framework for crypto assets. Asian financial hubs are rapidly positioning themselves as digital asset capitals. The UAE has been aggressively attracting blockchain startups. If the US wants to remain dominant in financial innovation, it has to address digital assets publicly at some point. And tonight is one of the biggest stages possible. So what does this mean specifically for XRP holders? Well, XRP has always sat at the intersection of regulation and utility. It's not just a speculative asset, it's positioned around cross-border liquidity, settlement efficiency, and institutional use cases. Any discussion tonight around modernizing payment rails, improving international settlement systems, or strengthening the dollar's global role could indirectly shine a spotlight on the types of technologies XRP was built for, even if XRP is never named. And look, I want to be clear. This is forward-looking analysis. It's speculation based on macro signals, but markets trade on narrative shifts long before policy details are finalized. If crypto is framed as strategic infrastructure, institutions lean in harder. If it's framed as systemic risk, compliance accelerates. If it's ignored, uncertainty lingers. Now here's something else to watch. Tone. Is crypto spoken about confidently, cautiously, critically? Does it get applause, silence, bipartisan nods? Those reactions matter, because perception drives capital flows. Wall Street analysts will dissect every word tomorrow morning. Social media will amplify clips within seconds. Trading desks will respond instantly to sentiment shifts. So if you're watching tonight, don't just listen for the word crypto. Listen for financial modernization themes. listen for digital competitiveness language, listen for references to innovation ecosystems. And if you're finding this breakdown valuable, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because when these macro signals hit, you want analysis fast, clear, and without the noise. Now here's the wild card. There's increasing discussion in Washington about stablecoins and the role they could play in reinforcing dollar dominance. A US-regulated dollar-backed stablecoin framework could strengthen global demand for digital dollars rather than weaken it. If stablecoins get mentioned as a strategic advantage, that's a huge development, because that would confirm that digital assets are not viewed as competitors to the dollar, but as tools to extend it. And that shifts the entire narrative. It transforms crypto from threat to infrastructure, and infrastructure attracts long-term capital. Another angle, national security. We've heard concerns about crypto being used to bypass sanctions. If that angle is emphasized tonight, expect talk of stricter monitoring systems, reporting standards, and international coordination. But even that has a silver lining. Clear compliance frameworks make it easier for institutional players to participate confidently. Now let's talk timing. Markets are hypersensitive right now. Liquidity cycles are tightening. Rate cut speculation is building. Risk assets are searching for direction. A strong innovation forward statement tonight could act as psychological fuel heading into the next quarter. But if crypto is left completely out of the economic vision, traders may interpret that as continued regulatory limbo, and limbo stalls momentum. Here's what I personally think is most likely. We'll hear a brief, carefully worded acknowledgement of digital innovation within the broader financial system. It won't dominate headlines, it won't be detailed policy, but it will be enough to signal awareness and strategic positioning, because ignoring it entirely would feel outdated in 2026, and acknowledging it too aggressively without regulatory consensus could spark political friction. So expect balance. But balance alone is progress. Just a few years ago, crypto wasn't even part of this conversation. Now it's potentially a primetime national policy topic. That evolution matters. And here's something else. Perception often precedes legislation. If tonight plants the seed that digital assets are part of America's economic future, agencies will eventually align with that narrative. Markets front-run that alignment, so what should you do? Stay calm. Watch objectively. Don't overreact to headlines. Let the full speech play out. Let analysts digest it. And remember that long-term positioning is rarely built on one sentence. It's built on consistent directional signals. Crypto is no longer asking for legitimacy. It's negotiating integration. That's a different phase entirely. And whether you're bullish, cautious, or somewhere in between, tonight could give us a glimpse into how policymakers are thinking about that integration. Will crypto be painted as innovation? Will it be framed as risk? Or will it be the silent giant in the room? We're about to find out. Either way, the fact that we're even having this conversation during a State of the Union tells you everything about how far this industry has come. And trust me, the next 12 months are going to be defining. So buckle up, watch closely, and we'll break down every word, every tone shift, and every hidden signal as soon as it drops. Because in this market, information isn't power, speed of interpretation is. And that's exactly what we do here at The Hub.